Hello, Spacers. Welcome to Starlight, a space opera. I'm Isaac, your host and GM for the adventures ahead. This show, whether you're watching or listening, is a labor of love, and one that we want to make the best for you. So if you can, take a moment to freely subscribe or share however is most comfortable for you. Thanks. Now let's plot a course to Starlight. Hello, weathered spacers, and welcome to Starlight. As many of you know, I'm Isaac Yorks, the GM of these zany adventures. I wanted to see if you knew all the ways you can connect with us. We have social media pages, like our Starlight Adventures page on Instagram, where you can get information on upcoming things and even vote on story elements, or get your questions featured in the show. We are also on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, and Discord. Lastly, we have a super fun Patreon. Links in the show notes below. Our Patreon members get exclusive access to story information, NPC builds, story voting, and much more, like one-shot games with yours truly. If you want to get more involved in the show or give back, these are all great things to check out. Alright, I'll see you soon, Spacers. Now, back to the action.
Activating, recalling, and replaying memories, and in Duel, Faldona, Concord Pyramid, colloquially called House of the Triumvirate.
We zoom into a white room, a giant vat with a brain that upon closer inspection bubbles in a gold-green liquid in a tank suspended in mid-air. It consists of brain matter and something else, something humanoid. Shriveled limbs, corpses, and body parts are absorbed into the flesh of an impossibly large brain that is stabbed with the dozens upon dozens of chair-sized crystals that resonate a yellow glow. There is a resonance that shakes the very fabric of the room. Those who stand near, down to the cells, they would feel a whoom, whoom, whoom that is both electric and oddly relaxing. The room is sterile of smell, and a line of Neuralink cables run off the vats, awaiting connection.
I am God, or at least as close as one can be. Once, my name was Tessier. My compatriots were once Laker and Tal, but now we are many. I cannot remember my beginning, but I have seen my end. For the prescience, it has always been with us. We have stood as witness and architect to the rise and the fall of the Federation. We have averted an aggressed war, massaged and irritated the populace. We are what the universe has required, but no sane being would readily take that on. And today is the day we die. Over the last half a dozen centuries, I have held the corner of the triumvirate dedicated not to the masses, but to the weak, small, and dispossessed. I am the elect, as they like to call me, but really it is they who think of themselves as such. I give them voice and power by which to enact their passions, a monocracy that answers only to my avatar. Sometimes they act in compassion, and in other times they balance the scales with violence. They are but children, prone to the most base of emotion, but they are wondrous too, nonetheless. Even for those who wish to kill me and shall succeed, I too love them. Was the orc kind not depopulated for the nuclear wastes they would have caused, were Loxodons not dispersed and ruthlessly stripped of all sense of home for the jihad they would have enacted left otherwise. Gnomes, whose DNA contained a sequence that would have birthed a living disease that would have utterly destroyed everything in the known galaxy. Yes, I do love them. And now, it is time for their retribution. The destruction will be catastrophic should we resist. It is foreseen. But all kind is ready. It is foreseen. All that remains is to gift the future over to the Enigmas. Enigmas who carry the touch of real gods. Our use is nearly at an end. And so it begins. No more councils with the dispossessed. No more watching. Only rest. I was once a god. I was once Tazir. I was once the triumvirate of the elect. And now, I am ready.
Hi guys, welcome back to Starlight. We're doing our Q&A, and this time we're doing it without Mr. Isaac York. So that'll make it way more entertaining. Just kidding. It's just me and Nathan here today. I play McKenna Ali, and Nathan plays...
I play Alice in the campaign.
Does Alice have a last name, or is it just Alice?
I think at this point in the story, people know his last name. Yeah, it's Kashin.
Okay. Oh yeah, because that's his family that he's connected to with Acers. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, that's a good question to start. What are the Acers, Nathan?
The Acers. Well, everyone knows them kind of as like the black market or like the mob of like Starlight or space. They're highly organized compared to maybe if people maybe thought they're more of like a... I don't think at this point in the story people think they're just like a little kind of gang or anything, but they are kind of the weapons dealer of the world in a sense, or like the galaxy, correction. And they're well known for just their access to information and materials. And then they're kind of just split up into multiple families, which I won't give out how many or the names of all of them, because obviously that's Isaac will be kind of, he's already kind of done it, has like introduced some of the families. But yeah, they're all, and the families specialize in different things. Kind of like Alice's family specializes in, I think he said it. But yeah, we kind of like Alice's family is more like the on the ground vanguard in a sense for like either conflicts or missions.
Mm-hmm. So basically, they're a D&D version of the Mafia. Yes. Okay.
Exactly.
So nothing to be afraid of or concerned about.
No, they're it's like the talent. You know, it's family. You do everything for family.
I love it. Before we dive deep into questions that we've been given and things that we've been thinking about, I wanted to give a shout out to our sponsors, Low Key Battle Maps, who've been with us for a few months now, and that's been really exciting, and we're pumped about their support. And then, yeah. So one question we got, which I thought was a good one to start off the conversation in terms of introducing our characters a little bit, is introducing our basic stats, including HP and AC, and then kind of joining that with sharing one of our more readily used abilities and explaining how that ability or spell or feat works and why your character has it. And I love that question because I think it just lays out like the basics of who we are. I'll let you go first, Alice.
Okay, perfect. I was to say this also helps with my stats to tell the people who think that I'm faking my rolls to know that I just have huge bonuses.
You
Not that
always roll well on strength checks, so that there is a level of curiosity.
I know.
there.
I was say I'm not salty that people are suspicious, but it's all good. So starting off, from basically how I took the question, it was my HP is 33, my AC is 16. We are level 4. My strength's 19, my dex is 13, cons 15, int is 9, wisdom's 14, and charisma is 11. I do have a pretty high strength. I did roll pretty well on it, plus with some racial bonuses, it has increased it. And then with my ability that I basically use readily and always have, as everyone knows, is rage. So with that, I have the beast path barbarian, which people have probably kind of noticed with all the changes and everything that Alice goes through. So basically, with the rage from the beast path, you take. I'm trying not to give a full just book definition, but basically, when you're in rage, you have resistances to both bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage, just normal damage. You have resistance to that, so you take half damage. You also get you get a proficiency bonus to your damage when attacking. And then also so rage. And then the reason with Atlas, I'm kind of going over my words in a sense, but with Atlas, when you became a barbarian with Path of the Beast, Path of the Beast Rage gives you animal-like features. So there's different things, you get the teeth, claws, or that tail. So in Starlight, due to it being Starlight and kind of space themed, what Isaac and I did was we didn't change any numbers for any of those really hard rulebook fans out there. We didn't change any numbers or anything. We just changed the aesthetic of it. So that's why Atlas has more of a mechanical or machine-like transformation. Versus more of a more organic animal form. But yeah, it's the most obviously readily used and most common thing that Alice will do because he is a barbarian.
I love it. So basically, Atlas is a beast that you don't want to attack, nor do you want to be attacked by.
Yeah, unless you're hitting them with damage that's not going to be any of the base types of damage.
That's fair. So psych damage.
Yeah, psychic damage. I know any magic's pretty good against barbarians as far as I know, unless you go a certain archetype. I think they get. Don't quote me, but I think they get resistances towards just certain elements and stuff. But normally, yeah, barbarians are more just in the fray, close quarters combat. Don't like being hit by. Now, some spells do bludgeoning damage, so he can take take less damage. It all just kind of depends.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna keep note of the psych damage as something maybe McKenna can keep in mind. Not that she would ever attack you.
Yeah. Always a concern.
For those of you who have not listened, if you have listened, it's very obvious. McKenna and Atlas have a bit of a tension happening between them. And it's just because McKenna wants to be the greatest of friends with Atlas, and Atlas does not feel the same. So McKenna is a sorcerer, and she is an elephant on 2 legs. She is very, very large, large in stature and large in personality. She's really honestly a fun character to play, and I honestly find a lot of the good and some would say annoying character types in me coming out in McKenna. And so it's fun to play a character who's a little bit like me. As far as her stats, her hit points are 30 and her AC is 13. So she is I would say is a great talker. She's not a great attacker in a lot of realms. Her strength is 12. Her dexterity is 11. Dexterity, I think, makes complete sense, and that she's an elephant. And I would not expect an elephant to be very dexterous. Her constitution is 15. Her intelligence is 15. Her wisdom is 15. And her charisma is 18. Which I hope I play a character who shows that. I think in a lot of, I often think like I could make progress in how I show her wisdom and intelligence, because sometimes I think she comes off as a little bit aloof. But sometimes that's very intentional as well in terms of how I'm playing her, and getting people to sometimes say the same information over and over again so that she can catch them in lies, which I think maybe shows some intelligence and wisdom. And yeah, she's a sorcerer. As far as some of her cool features, I actually want to share two, so hopefully that's allowed. One that I think is so McKenna is message, and being able to message into people's minds. So that's basically, I can do it as much as I want, because, what is it called? It's a cantrip. So there's not a limit on how many times I can do it. And I can basically say anything and everything I want into someone's mind, no matter how far away they are, as long as I can see them, I think is the, well, actually, it has to be 120 feet from me. For those rule followers, I want to make sure I can, but that's pretty much who you can see, if they're 120 feet. Yeah, so that's one of my favorites. And then also, more recently, something I'm trying to perfect and I think will be really cool when it comes to fruition is the Chaos Bolt. And that's really cool in that I don't even know what it's going to come out as sometimes. So you roll, I think, I don't have the dice on me or the instructions on me at the moment, but I think you roll a die 8 to figure out what it is, and then you roll the damage. And maybe some rule follower knows a little bit more detail than I do in the moment. But I think that'll be such a cool one when I can roll right for it. I've tried to roll so many times and it keeps blowing up in my face. And so that's one of my favorite ones. Those two, I think. But the message is so McKenna, and so I particularly enjoy that one. Yeah, so those are good questions for the person who sent that in.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay, question for you, Alice.
Okay.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain what the... And I wish Isaac was here to say this word.
Yeah, no.
Hold on,
I don't want to say it either.
Christoc shard. Can you explain what it is and its ability? And then the details of the rules of the Legend Lore spell.
Yes. So, the shard... the shard itself, basically, it's a crystal that has the ability of Legend Lore. It has limited uses a day. It recharges, as long as, obviously, I believe there's a part of it where if you overuse it, it has a chance of like breaking. That might be wrong, but and then also a part of the shard that this is more just a player trying to figure things out, is I believe
Let's hear you say it.
Chris. The crystal shard. Because I, for some reason, can't even get my mouth around it. As part of like maybe like a bunch of like very legendary crystals. And I feel like there's more in the world. It would be fascinating or really awesome to try to like maybe see what the other ones do.
Well, remember we've seen something similar, like on, I'm just going to say it because I don't think it's been live yet, but on the cloak of that guy who greeted us when we landed most recently, if you remember that. Do you remember that when we were getting on to XR1 and we had to land? I don't want to give too many details.
Yeah.
And then the leader greeted us and had all those crystals on
maybe
their cloaks
maybe
that
one
looked
of them.
similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or might be. Yeah.
But
honestly,
then,
I feel like
Also,
Go
that
ahead.
leader in the vision that you had using the Christakis shard, I'm going to call it that. It saw something similar in the puddle.
Yeah,
right?
so that's what I'm thinking. Like, obviously, I mean, I think that's like a higher entity kind of thing at the same time. It's just, yeah, I feel like there's gonna be more, and it'd just be cool to see like what they are obviously later in the campaign. And then continuing that is so basically with the ability, you name or describe a person, place, or object, and the spell gives a summary of important info on it. So it's honestly seems very, obviously in the shard, it is very overpowered to a certain extent, to where you can, the person that you question though, like for the most part has to have some info about them that can be almost like legendary in a sense, or maybe not 100% legendary, but something of importance. You can't, like, as far as I know, you wouldn't be able to use it just on like a plain individual that has no, like,
You
just
wouldn't be able to say, like, where's
one
my
of those
grandma?
quest-giving NPCs, yeah.
Right.
But yeah, so it's definitely pretty cool. I actually just thought of something to use it on, actually, when I was like trying to think of how to answer it.
Can you
But
share?
I'll keep that for the campaign. Huh?
Can you share? Do it. Do it. You know you want to.
I don't think just yet. I mean, there's a lot of people that Atlas wants to use it on now that he knows what it does.
Is there a
But,
limit? Did you say that
So
already?
so it's 3. As far as I know, from what I remember when I spoke to Isaac, I think, because I don't have like the card in front of me, I think it's 3 times a day
Okay.
or 2 times a day. But yeah, you can't, or is it a week? I don't know. But basically, it's a very, might be the latter. But yeah, there's a limited times you can use it per day or a week, I think, or month. But yeah, it's really strong because obviously with like big story people, obviously some people might have some type of resistance. I don't know if that could be a thing, but somebody may actually resist, like have like a divination is in a type of sense to like kind of like when you use scry on somebody. That's what I think too, is like there might be like an enemy at some point that like when you scry on people, if they have depending on like what they have around themselves, they may be able to know what's happening and then kind of just like push it out. So or there's like items that can stop it, so maybe somebody else has an item that can like block like kind of that divination type of stuff. So
That could be really interesting.
mm-hmm.
Do you think Atlas would be thinking that, or just Nathan is?
More just the player
Okay.
as me. I don't think Atlas would probably just use it on whoever he wants to know about without even thinking about it.
Good, because I was hoping there would be no limit, and then like a lesson would be learned.
Yeah, probably find something out that he didn't want to find out about somebody.
Yes.
Alrighty. I have a question for you, or as McKenna.
Yeah.
Or McKenna. Do you think finding Cisa's sister will actually be beneficial for him? Or do you like expect, like, do you think potentially finding her will be what you're expecting? Like her, like everything being fine, her super happy to see Cisa.
I am expecting it to be a happy reunion. Like, from what he has said about her and his because not too distant memories of her, I'm expecting her to be happy to see him. I wouldn't be surprised if she was part of the Pelagian Pact. Not that a lot of people know what that is yet. But if she didn't join that, or if she's like in hiding. So I think either one of those is going to be the case. And I think it's going to honestly be up to Cisa in terms of how he wants to address that. My hope is that she's alive, because there's also a real possibility that she's dead. And so
Yeah.
wanting to protect him from that pain, while also having made him a promise, I think is where McKenna's at. So I think, to answer your question, I am expecting there to be a happy reunion, if she's alive, and I'm expecting him to want to stay in that relationship and pursue that. But I'm interested to see what that looks like long term.
I have a slight branching question.
Yeah.
Because, okay, so Sisa was obviously on Inoi. I don't know how to pronounce it too well. So,
Inoi.
also what I'm thinking, though, is because we found out that the Sunmaker is potentially, obviously, the audience probably thinks so too, as the Federation's new head.
Oh, for sure.
So, what I'm thinking, though, is, right? Do you think McKenna could handle it? If Sisa grows to hate McKenna, because what if the Sunmaker had something to do with, like, either their separation, obviously not directly, but his actions could have led to their, like, separation.
I would hope that Sisa is able to separate the Sunmaker and McKenna. And like what the Sunmaker has done, even though McKenna's pursuing that, versus what McKenna has done and what she has shown him. Because I think she has shown him a level of commitment and trust he was not expecting. And so my hope is that he would be able to trust her in that. I also feel excited that with what's happening on XR1, it might actually be easier for him to find his sister, because what's happening on XR1, they're not against sense. So I don't have to hide Sisa. I mean, he's still stuck on the ship and nobody knows about that yet, but that's another day's problem.
Yeah.
But it should, once we're like there, and because now we're not in hiding, right? We don't have to necessarily hide. It should be easier to connect them with them being sense. And with her being a synth, I could see her having joined. There's a lot of foreshadowing happening in this answer. But I think, I could see that happening.
Yeah, we find out that she's like one of the higher ups or something.
Oh my gosh. That would be nuts. That would be crazy.
Even though Sisa does like Clive and Atlas more. But, okay. I think it's more just like the father or like big brother figure.
I have a question about that. After that moment where Atlas like pushes him up against the wall, has that intense moment, does Atlas bond with Sisa a little bit?
So Atlas, it's not really that he's really bonding with Sisa. It's more that, as brutal as Atlas is, he doesn't want to see children or young synths or really anyone in that kind of, obviously that age group, kind of see any type of war or battle. But if they do, or they like have just like this goal in mind or whatever else, and they're just stuck on it, whatever, he just doesn't want to see any harm come to them in a sense. Obviously, he wasn't very gentle with Sisa, but it's also the same side. It's like, okay, well, Atlas can be rough now with the child to kind of try to like shock him a little bit, so he realizes like, I might just die. Like, kind of get out of the fantasy of like, if I'm going to pursue this goal, I have to realize that this isn't just some fantasy where I'll be untouchable or I'll be safe. Like, I might die. So, that also kind of branches me to a question for McKenna, and I believe this comes from Isaac. Were you proud of Sisa and his reaction of Atlas's concern? And do you think that behind the tough veneer, he and Clive might actually be good influences on the teenager?
Part one of that answer, I was so proud. The way that he stood up for what he believed, and on the dice roll, the fact that it was my support that made that possible, I also felt good about that. But like from that, like if I like were to take a step back and say that happened in real life and Courtney was responding to that moment, I would be so proud. There would also probably be CPS involved because throwing a kid up against a wall is problematic. And going to other planets and kind of kidnapping him, there'd be a lot of issues happening. But in that moment, I was so proud, and that he really stuck to his guns and really, I don't know, committed to what he said he was going to do, and did it in the face of someone who's big and strong and mean. And so I was impressed by that. Part 2 of that question, I don't know if Alice and Clive are good influences. I go back and forth on Alice all the time. Sometimes I think Alice is a good guy, and I'm like, yeah, I can totally trust him, and I can totally like bring him into who McKenna actually is, because nobody knows who McKenna actually is or what she's actually pursuing. And other times I'm like, stay away from this guy, he's awful. And with Clive, I don't know what to think of Clive. There's not enough knowledge about him to really have a strong opinion about whether he might be a good influence. And so with that said, I think I'm still learning about Alice and Clive to know whether or not they might be good influences for Cisa. I will say I'm very, 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 very glad that he's not interacting with Sir.
Yeah.
Because Sir felt like a terrible influence. Although it was very good to have Spencer on. I am glad Sir is not influencing Cisa for very long. Yes.
Yeah, I feel like even versus like Alice and Cisa, Alice and Sir, it's like Alice might be questionable at times, but he does live somewhat. I mean, he doesn't live by a code, but he does live by some set of like morals he set for himself. Yeah, and morality that he's kind of set for himself. Versus Sir, who just chaotically lives his life. Yeah.
If I had to choose between Alice and Sir, I'll choose Alice every day. Yeah. Okay, question for you.
Okay.
I feel like parts of your life as Atlas are coming together. So you have this call that you have that nobody knows about with your, what is she? She's the one who like fixes you.
Oh yeah, my doctor/engineer.
Yes, but she seems like a friend too. So doctor, engineer, friend. And then we go to the planet where the Acers are also operating, and we learn more there. Not necessarily about you, but about the Acers and what's happening there. I want to call her your lover, has also called you once.
Oh, Astrid?
Yes. Or is that her name?
Astrid the tiefling?
I don't know if she's a tiefling. Is she?
The one from Annoy? The one that works with
not Astrid. So Astrid's the girl with the Acers. There's another gal who called a while back. Or maybe she's been trying to call, but you're not answering. But I thought she got through once.
No, so my doctor or engineer was basically letting me know that she's like been asking about me. And I should try to like return a call, but as of right now, I don't think Alice has spoken to her. Okay,
so what is the next steps for Alice in his personal life? Because you have Astrid on the side, so I'm glad you brought her up. You have this doctor engineer friend who seems like truly just a friend, but is there something more there? You have this gal on the side that you're providing for and sending money to, but you're not doing anything with. You haven't been back to visit the Kashin family. Well, you kind of did with what's his face, but like, I don't know, like it seems like Atlas's personal life is on pause while his professional ambitions are pushing forward. So I'm curious what's happening there.
So with the professional life kind of going forward, it's because Alice has been put on this mission by obviously the Kashin family to obviously locate the Sunmaker and capture him alive or dead, as far as I know. unless that information's been updated. It might be. That's why I had to get in hold of the Kishin, because obviously with the Sunmaker now potentially being the head of the Federation, then things might have changed. And then with the relationship, so Atlas knows in the back of his head, obviously with the Tetsep family, that's the family she belongs to, for the Acers, the more luxurious, information-based, gambling, like that kind of stuff. So with that, he knows that in some sense he is kind of slightly being used for the mission, but obviously they're just using each other for different ambitions. But Astrid is kind of like that, how would you put it? Kind of like that woman that you see in some shows, maybe, that there's always some type of like tension, but it never like comes out of anything, or nothing comes out of it. And as of right now, that's kind of how Atlas sees it. His doctor or engineer, he's known since the beginning. Well, not as long as the other woman has been trying to get a hold of him. But
Who's the other woman?
that I will not reveal it yet. I'm pretty sure it'll be revealed pretty soon. Whether I wanted to or not. But actually it will be revealed, because I'm gonna have something happen. But I can say, without revealing too much, that yeah, so the doctor and engineer is very, very close friends. It's like it's just like someone that he's very, very close to and has been through a ton of stuff with, and has like kind of like been there for him, to get him through a lot of trying times when he first was part of the Acers. So they have a very strong connection. Romantically, who knows? Now, something I can reveal about the other woman is that she has obviously he sends money, or some of his funding, obviously, that is salary in a sense, to her, to take care of her, and she has a pretty strong connection to his past. But I can say, so those people out there, that he's not doing it because it's not like she's not his lover. If people, like the audience, might think that, or you might think that she's not his lover, and she's not she's not technically his family. He's not like a sister or a mom or anything like that. But she's someone very important to someone Atlas considered to be his closest family from the past.
So that was a lot of foreshadowing and gave me no answer as far as who she is. So is the answer that you're not going to answer my question?
I think part of it, actually, wait, I don't know why I'm going around it so much. I think it's been revealed slightly, because of the Christoph, the shard. Because kind of like when Isaac was saying too, it kind of relates back, like it's due to that tragic thing in his past. He's lost a lot. So actually I still have to go around the question. Never mind. Until a little bit, I feel like it's gonna be revealed pretty soon.
All right.
So just, I know like you've wondered for quite some time, so it'll be revealed pretty soon on kind of what's going on with that.
Okay, Courtney and McKenna don't like waiting, and so this has been really a test of patience. So I am excited for that to be revealed.
Alrighty.
Okay, you're up with the next question.
Oh, okay. I know I always ask. See, this is the same thing though. That obviously you have your questions for me, but I always like question the whole Sunmaker thing, because obviously, like you said, no one really knows McKenna. Like, also, it's funny that it seems as if there's a huge amount of mystery behind Alice, you know, because it seems like a lot of it's been introduced here and there. But if we're being honest, the people with the most like full on mystery, well, I'm gonna say it's Clive right now. But
Definitely
secondly
Clive.
is actually McKenna, because like you said, no one really knows like your end goal other than finding the Sunmaker. No one exactly knows. I mean, people can guess from maybe McKenna's personality right now of like, oh yeah, she's gonna try to befriend or be friendly and team up and go towards the sunset with the Sunmaker. But it's like at the same time, who knows? So it's like, what my question is, if McKenna finds out that the Sunmaker is actually, obviously, I feel like she knows that he's not exactly the same as he used to be. But will she have trying to find a better word than the vulgar word for it. Will she have on the tip of my tongue. Whatever. Will she have the this is not the word I was thinking of, but will she have the drive or like the ability to kill the Sunmaker if she finds out that he's just evil? Because obviously they have a huge past together. At one point I understand that he might have been not as bad as everyone else thinks he is. But will she have, see, I don't have the word for it, but the ability to be able to just strike him down?
So I want that to be a yes or no question, but it's not. It would take a lot to get McKenna there. I actually don't think anything has happened that proves the Sunmaker to be a bad guy. I think there's like weird things that have happened. I think there's like some brainwashing that has happened. But I don't think anything that we've seen so far clearly articulates, okay, he's a bad guy. And that's what I think McKenna would press pause in terms of responding, in terms of striking him down when she were to see him. I think McKenna's really interested in having a very thorough conversation with him and feeling him out. And I think it would be pretty clear through a conversation, a long one, that I'm sure I would ask way too many questions and annoy our whole audience. But a conversation where it's clear where his intentions are, because I don't feel like we know that yet. I don't feel like we know his intentions, what his goals are, what he's thinking, why he's thinking it, and that would make me nervous. If it was very clear, there was no doubt that this guy was a bad guy, McKenna would be very sad, would be heartbroken, would hate to do it, but would be able to take him out. But I don't think that's clear, and she will not act until it is clear.
Sounds very McKenna, yeah.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I get you.
Yeah.
Say,
So always
it sounds
talk.
very McKenna. Yeah, she's she always wants to talk to the enemy.
Yes. All talk and no action. That's how we joined a cult, right?
Oh man. I mean, hey, it's worked out. Plus, honestly, in hindsight, yeah, it's definitely got us a lot of information.
Yes. Okay. Alice, after you use the word that we can't say, shard, you said you were speechless, right? You were like so shocked by what's happened, and then we just kind of moved on.
Yeah.
Now that you've had time to absorb everything revealed from the artifact, what were your thoughts about everything revealed?
All right,
Because that was a ton, and I was like, oh shit.
Oh yeah, I did not expect all of it. Like that's one of the reasons I was also pretty speechless, was I did not expect to like learn so much, but also how much had happened to make him become who he is. Another reason would be that the man might be related to Clive. Like we've all oh crap, I don't know 100%.
They don't know.
Yeah, we just don't know. And then
It's so hard to do these Q&As like ahead of or like behind schedule. So I feel like so much foreshadowing happens. Sorry, guys.
And then my thoughts on the things that were revealed makes me almost feel for the orcs in a sense. But not necessarily like make me want to side with them. But it's just it makes Atlas and also myself kind of feel for them in a sense of like where they came from and like how they got there. It's kind of like those villains you can't like you want to hate them but you can't.
Right.
And then I think it was when I used the shard that I found or Alice saw he saw a few different symbols, but one of them really hit him. It was connected to his past in a sense that I believe. Obviously, I may be screwing this up in my head because my brain kind of gets scrambled sometimes. All the information's there, just scrambled. Is that, yeah? So it made him very speechless on like, okay, I might be related to Clive. Kind of feels for him, but at the same time, if what I'm thinking is correct, yeah, if everything connects, all the dots connect, and Alice finds out that such and such may be behind something, then Alice will go completely berserk.
Atlas...
Honestly, this... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
With that in mind, will Atlas have the ability to press pause on going berserk if it's not the appropriate timing?
Oh, yeah, Alice isn't... I mean, Alice... He's not the
he have
smartest...
self-control.
Yeah, he's not... I mean, yes and no. He's not the smartest... obviously person in the party, but like he does have a lot of like, that's why I play like Alice is not being complete, like, because obviously he has like a 9 intelligence, but like obviously with the character, that's why his wisdom isn't super bad either, is that he's had a lot of experience in life, so he's very wise in a sense. I mean he's not the most wise, but he's wise enough to know from battle experience and war and everything else there's a time and a place for certain things. Now sometimes does his rage or whatnot kind of just bypass it? Yes. But with this, he'd be very careful because he knows... I mean, he wouldn't be super careful, but he would be careful enough because he knows the threat level of what it is. So, yeah, he'd be able to control it somewhat. Honestly, though, it might even be beneficial to McKenna because he'll probably forget the Sunmaker entirely for a little bit. But yeah.
What makes you say that?
The relation between what Alice saw and connecting to his past kind of overrides his mission in a sense. His personal life finally outweighs his professional, which is very rare for Alice because he's very just known for just completing the mission, whatever it takes.
You are right, and that McKenna would be extraordinarily excited to pursue that with Alice. Yes. Yeah,
depending, there's a lot of things. Honestly, this next part, I honestly have been kind of anxious with trying to like. Want, I admit I'm being a little impatient, but I really want to see what happens next, because there's a lot of stuff. And honestly, I think the audience is going to love it because there's so much that's going to be happening that it's just insane.
Yeah, I feel like between the episodes coming up and then the episodes we'll be recording here soon, there's like so many big shifts happening in the story, and so many, I think, secrets being revealed. Mm-hmm. And so it's exciting to have all that happen. Yeah,
what's nice too is that I feel like at first I was like, oh man, we're like giving out so many details kind of in a certain sense of like backstory, but it's like, so kind of like when that happens, it's like, okay, where's the story going to go from now? But it's like, there is a little bit like inklings here and there, but it has so many branching scenarios that can happen that it's just like, I don't know, it's almost like I don't know. I'm super excited to see kind of like what exactly comes to fruition in a sense.
Me too. Me too. Do you have any more questions?
None personally. I do have a question from the fans actually for Isaac.
Ooh. Okay.
All right. So the question from the fan, and pardon me because I'm not as good as Courtney or Isaac at reading or talking in general. But the question from the fan is, where do you get your inspiration for the campaign from? And that's to Isaac. Isaac's answer for that fan is, it's hard to say. I tend to have a ton of stories just trapped in my head, and they manifest kind of from nowhere. Stories are a bit of a freak talent for me, in that someone can be talking about a glass of water, and that somehow turn into a creation myth of a setting. My mind is a weird place, but I do have influences. A lot of times though, I like to use my influences as purposefully as possible, as either a way to pay homage to something I love, or to act as a pulse check for the audience to give them something that recognizes. Which can help them find a foothold in a made-up story. A chunk of my story narrative comes from what my players create as a backstory. I like to run with their ideas and I'll allow them to breathe a story of its own. Lastly, if I had to name some heavy influences, I would say Star Wars, and in parentheses, this helps me get the vibe of a space opera. Dune is another one. Authors like Brandon Sanderson in real life. There's nothing crazier than real life. For example, the conflict that led to the creation of Atlas, as we know him, as we know him, is the Battle of Bendagast Ear. Believe it or not, there's a conflict in real life that was caused over an ear.
Oh wow, I didn't.
Yeah,
know
that's
that.
actually crazy. Yeah,
I thought you read that very well.
I appreciate that.
Yes. Do you know something? And I'm sure you've experienced this, Nathan. But one thing I love about like just what DMs do in general is, and I think Isaac does this really well, but allow me to create the story and like of who McKenna is, and to use that to drive the campaign. And I think Isaac does a great job at giving me little just crumbs to follow along the way, as far as like when for example, when we were leaving in Duel and Dr. Montgomery had said, hey, I heard this news thing of, it was a deep voice of somebody calling all Loxodons to the planet with no lights. And I was like, what? Like, that's a huge crumb to follow. And that honestly could be a whole nother campaign in itself. That just crumb in itself. And so it's those kind of little, like, just little crumbs that we can follow just are really awesome.
Yeah, I think does a great job, honestly, with that. I'm not trying to earn brownie points, but he, honestly, from just because I watch so many campaigns and listen to him all the time, like, there's one thing that I know just from seeing like random encounter or like random videos and such, just talking about the campaigns people have been in. Isaac does a fantastic job with leaving those crumbs without like railroading the campaign. And that's why I love it so much too, is like you can create the story with your backstory and everything else. And then like in the campaign, it's not where he doesn't just railroad you into like a specific thing. He doesn't force your characters into something without them deciding like, okay, this is what I want to kind of like get into, or this is what I want to be a part of. So it's fantastic.
I would absolutely agree. That's a note for DMs. Don't railroad your characters.
Don't railroad your players into things that they might not even be interested in. It sucks to say. I know, like, being a DM is like a storyteller. You're telling a story, but at the same time, your characters are a huge part of your story, and that forcing them into something they may not be interested in is kind of, I don't want to be mean, but it's kind of just selfish in a sense. Like, obviously, there's certain things maybe you want to try to push, but at the same time, you don't want to just force. You don't want to force your players to do almost anything.
Right.
Also, you don't want to force your DM to do outrageous things. That's why sometimes I kind of like hold back or like don't want should I have said this or should I have done this? Because I'm not trying to like force certain things. But yeah, it's great. Honestly, Isaac's fantastic. Like with the storytelling and everything else, like it's crazy.
I agree. Absolutely. Okay, one more question to wrap it up.
All right.
Give me one thing you're looking forward to as the story progresses.
Ooh. This one's tough just because obviously you're not trying to
Keep it vague.
leak anything. Okay. Something that I am something that I'm looking forward to quite a bit is honestly just where this arc kind of goes. Obviously we finished the arc of just kind of like the first planet introducing and all that stuff. But seeing where everything ends up, like will Atlas, McKenna, and Clive stick together? Will any of them die? There's some crazy stuff coming up for the audience. Like honestly, I really hope everyone kind of like listens in, and it's gonna be crazy. But just kind of like where everything like ends up and like the aftermath, because there's so much world-changing stuff that can happen. I just want to see where all the like pieces like end up.
Yeah. I think mine is honestly Clive's story and wanting some pieces tied together there. And I think what's happening next is going to tie those pieces together. And then I'm going to break my own rule and say, I think Isaac and I and Sam are both really excited that Nathan is coming in town for the next recording. And so we'll all be in person, which will be super fun. So if there's nothing else, Nathan.
No, that's all I got.
I think we'll call it a day. Thanks for joining us with this Q&A for Starlight. And we are super excited to join you guys in the next segment before the next Q&A of Starlight. And I think this went pretty well without Isaac. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it went well.
Yeah, let's keep him out more often. Just kidding. All right, bye, guys. See you later, Spacers.
Yep, see you guys.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Starlight. If you enjoyed this, please like, share, subscribe. For early releases, exclusive RPG content, and other bonus material, check us out on Patreon at patreon.com/starlightadventures. And to reach us for questions to be aired, email us at thestarlightadventures@gmail.com. See you next Tuesday, Spacers.